How a middle-aged man created Amazon empire from his garage. More with his life. He was born on January 12, 1964, in Albuquerque, New Mexico, to a 17-year-old mother who was still in high school at the time. His mother and father married, but the marriage did not last, and at the age of 4, he moved to Houston, Texas, where his mother remarried, and he was quickly given his stepfather's surname. His life and identity had taken a completely different turn, and they were relocated to Miami, Florida, in search of better opportunities and a simpler way of life. He wasn't always the wealthiest man in modern history. In high school, he sacrificed parts of his youth by working as a line cook at McDonald's to supplement his income. Though much has been written about Bezos' habits and managerial style, it didn't take long for him to turn his life around and build an e-commerce juggernaut. Few people are aware of his existence. Today we'll look at how Jeff Bezos built. But before we get into his business strategy, consider Bezos' difficult childhood. He never let it bother him because he knew he wanted to do more with his life. He worked hard in school, even enrolling in extra courses and the University of Florida's Student Science Training Program, working part-time and studying in what little spare time I have. He graduated from high school as valedictorian. Money as a tool. He stated his vision of preserving the earth from overuse due to resource depletion when he was 18 years old. Before the internet was even released, people assumed it was nothing more than a young teen's fantasy. He wasn't sure what major he wanted to study in college at first, but then he remembered building an alarm system when he was younger to catch his siblings when they tried to sneak into his room. As a result, he attended and graduated from Princeton University with degrees in electrical engineering and computer science, and he began working for a variety of companies, ranging from a financial telecommunications startup to banking, where he gained valuable insight into the inner workings of Wall Street. He was making more money than he had ever made in his life. Growing up in poverty, he has always been impoverished, but money was only a tool to him, never the end goal. He desired to create something never before attempted. He was the senior vice president of one of the world's largest investment management firms by 1994, at the age of 30, but he was unhappy. However, in comparison to most jobs, the job paid well. In comparison to his current income, his salary was pitiful. Bezos learned in 1994 that the internet had grown 2,300% in 1 year. Take a huge risk and follow his dreams. He was startled by this number and determined to find a way to benefit from its quick expansion. He produced a list of 20 potential online sales items and concluded that books were the best choice. This marked the beginning of Amazon.com. For him, this was the turning point, and he was aware that he had to choose between sticking with his current course and taking a major risk to pursue his aspirations. He resigned his job and started looking for investors after drafting a business plan. Although they were equally as ambitious as he was, he cautioned them that there was a 70% possibility that his new company would fail because the idea of using the internet and commerce had never been done before. Finish on July 5, 1994. He initially started his company out of his garage. They simply sold books, but he recognized right away that their goal was to satisfy every customer's need. He had long known that the internet would transform both physical bookstores and how people lived. It seemed like one of the more apparent things that would change, and soon enough, people started ordering all different kinds of books from their website. He put in a bell to let people know when they had orders, but after a few weeks they had to turn it off since there were too many orders and it was getting annoying to hear the ring. In 2000, as they started selling items other than books, the business hit rock bottom due to a combination of strong competition. Despite the fact that Amazon began as an online book retailer. 3 years after Bezos started Amazon, he took it public with an IPO in response to negative articles from Fortune and Barron's. Bezos has long intended to diversify into other products. Bezos argued that as the internet expanded, the main 3 principles. 2 years later, The market value of shares in Amazon was greater than the combined market value of its two biggest retail competitors, and Borders was negotiating a deal with Amazon to handle its internet traffic. Online startups and businesses were rapidly disappearing. He was closing in on us with many people, including himself, unsure if they would make it through luck. They had borrowed and raised nearly $2 billion from a number of banks and investors weeks before the burst, and they were able to weather the storm. During this time, they adhered to our three main principles. The customer was the first, 2, stay inventive, and 3, be patient. For us, inventive meant more than just e-commerce. It meant admitting they weren't perfect and promising to fix our mistakes. They began as a humble online bookstore and have since evolved into an online e-commerce store where anyone can find anything from A to Z, as the logo indicates. However, Amazon was not always known as such. He wanted to name it Cadaver or Relentless at first but was talked out of both. He eventually chose Amazon after the world's largest driver by volume, but he wanted to do more than just e-commerce. As a result, he quietly established Blue Origin, a human spaceflight startup company. They had their first test flight into space in 2000 and planned to have our first commercial flights into space by 20. He wishes to live in a world where everyone can travel throughout the universe in the same way that they can now travel around the world by airplane. They may appear out of reach, but not long ago, the only way to buy a book was to walk into a bookstore. He was never one of them. His goal was always to create services that would make others' lives easier and better, a task that was not always easy for him. They revolutionized the way people purchase goods and services, allowing them to get what they want without even leaving their houses. His core philosophies. And Bezos has a few core beliefs that have contributed to his success. Amazon, for example, is laser-focused on customers rather than starting with a product idea and convincing executives that customers will love the idea. Amazon develops ideas from the perspective of the customer in order to generate legitimate revenue. For example, Amazon Prime was created because it was recognized within the company that customers wanted to buy high-quality products at a lower cost. Customers also wanted products as soon as possible. Prime appeared to be a solution that would meet both of these customer needs, despite the fact that Prime was unorthodox and sometimes contentious methods. His success was due to his dedication to his own personal goals. The thing about ambition is that it can never be completely satisfied. And once one goal is met, others must follow suit. He believes that while accomplishments can provide pride and joy, you can't rest on your laurels for too long or life will become stagnant. Bezos and Amazon were successful. His plan entailed reinvesting all of Amazon's capital back into the company. Investors were concerned because Amazon had not turned a significant profit for the majority of its existence, but Bezos was correct to take this risk. Amazon is now worth more than $1 trillion and shows no signs of slowing down, even as other heavyweights such as Apple and Facebook struggle. Bezos' personal net worth has comfortably hovered around $150 billion, making him the world's richest man. Strive for more. You must strive for greater accomplishments and goals. This may appear exhausting, but if you have a passion for life and a desire to create things that benefit the world, your passion will provide you with the energy you require. Working hard will become enjoyable, and it will also provide you with a sense of purpose. It will not always be an easy road, and people will not always agree with the approaches you take or the things you do. He has always believed that in order to do something new and interesting, you must have a thick skin and the ability to tolerate critics. You should always consider what others have to say, but if you don't agree with their logic, you must be determined to stick to your guns. Jeff Bezos stepped down as CEO of Amazon, which he founded in 1994 as an online bookstore. Today, Amazon is a $1.8 trillion e-commerce behemoth, and the company has made him the world's richest person, with a fortune worth more than $200 billion. Over Bezos' roughly 27 years as CEO, He's regularly shared advice and lessons learned in interviews and his annual letters to Amazon shareholders. Bezos believes that the key to maintaining an innovative business is to make high-quality, high-velocity decisions. Jeff said, "What we need to do is always lean into the future. When the world changes around you and when it changes against you, what used to be a tailwind is now a headwind. You have to lean into that and figure out what to do, because complaining isn't a strategy." His name is Jeff Bezos, and he is the founder, chairman, and chief executive officer of Amazon.com.